Good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Rankin Mon Valley Pittsburgh section of the National Council of Negro Women. My name is Patricia Blewett, and I am the section's corresponding secretary. Joining me today is Alice Paylor Days, and Alice is a member of the section's political party. We thank all of you who have participated in our previous program, and we hope that you will join us again today with your questions by calling 412 853 8206, and that number will be displayed at the bottom of the screen. Our guest today is Christine Williams Leech, and she is the author of the book Polished Blessings. The program today satisfies one of the National Council of Negro Women's national mandates, supporting economic development and entrepreneurship, in addition to satisfying one of our Four for the Future initiatives, which is encouraged by STEAM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and math. It's an entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and economic stability. In addition to the civic engagement and advocacy for sound public policy, our National Council of Negro Women's mission is to lead, advocate for, and empower women of African descent, their families, and their communities. Before we begin the show, we would like to do a little brief bio about our special guest. Alice, can you tell us about our guest tonight?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'd like to introduce Christine Williams Leech. She's a longtime resident of Braddock and currently resides in Whitaker, PA. She's a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother of four. She's retired. She is a retired corrections officer of 19 years with Allegheny County Jail Correctional Facility. Christine served on the Mon Valley Citizens Review Board formed in Braddock, Pennsylvania, to review the transparency of police brutality. Ms. Leach is enrolled at Duquesne University Law Department and hopes to utilize her knowledge as a member of the Innocence Project of Pennsylvania to help the wrongly convicted individuals. As Christine sees it, being a benefactor to the community is just another purpose for living. As an entrepreneur and author of Polished Blessings, Christine shares her story of challenges and triumphs. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
And the first question I like to ask is, when did you know you wanted to share your story with the public?
Actually, I knew that I wanted to share my story when I was still working at the jail because you see a lot of things. So my decision was already made. I was already writing while I was there. Just nobody knew that I was writing.
Mm-hmm. So you were documenting incidents or documenting your...
Yes, I was documenting and feelings, putting my feelings down on paper. Because expressing my emotions so that somebody else can feel what I felt. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason why I started writing. And it was therapeutic. That's how I got through it. Yeah, with a lot of prayer, and it was therapeutic for me. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, good.
What or who was the biggest inspiration before and during your writing experience?
Okay, so my uncle, he wrote a poem book, and his name was Donald F. Williams, and he wrote a book a poem book called My Father's Struggle. And so I think maybe that's where my inspiration came from. I think it was because of him. Maybe somewhere down the line, my ancestors probably wrote. I don't know, but I had that feel. I didn't know I can write. I just started putting my thoughts and my feelings on paper. So you know, that's how I think that it was from him.
Okay.
Christine, can you tell us a little bit about the book? What is it about?
Okay, so my book is about my trials and tribulations and what I went through at the Allegheny County Jail, um, the wrongdoings, um, situations that I was in. Sometimes wasn't my fault. Maybe it was my fault, but I know that that was my inspiration for writing.
Well, how did you come up with the title for your book, Polished
Oh,
Lessons?
oh, great. So the title I came up with because everything I went through and I got through it was a blessing.
Okay.
So, and I figure every blessing you have, wouldn't you want to polish it and make it shine? And so that's how I look at my blessings. I don't just take my blessings and put it on the shelf. I take my blessings and I polish them.
Okay.
Make them shine, make them blessings shine because they're important to us. And so that's how I came up with that
Okay.
title.
Have you always wanted to be a writer, or did the story itself make you a writer?
The story itself made me a writer.
Oh,
It
really?
did. The
Mhm.
story itself made me a writer. I had no idea that I could even accomplish this. Um, I guess when you kind of get to know yourself and your aspirations on what you can do or what you think you can do, you can really do. And
Mm-hmm.
so I kind of I don't know how I became a writer. I just know it ended up good, and I know that um, I'm surprised myself that I actually did this, and we'd be surprised with all we can do, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, how did you were working at the jail while you were writing the book?
Mm-hmm.
So how did you stay motivated and disciplined enough to finish your book with your job, your children, and grandchildren? What motivated you to finish that book?
I was so hurt about a lot of things that happened. I was
Okay.
so hurt about so many things that um, that motivated me, if that makes sense. It motivated me to not let them get away with it. I wanted to tell my story. I didn't want them to get away. I didn't want to walk away from that job with them thinking that they got me.
Okay.
Not only was it therapeutic, but I was motivated by just not that I would have the last word, but I think I did have the last word and I wanted the last word. And
Okay.
so
Mm.
I think that's what motivated me, not to let them have the last word.
Okay.
What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced while you were writing your book?
Reliving it,
Mm.
I was reliving everything. That was hard to relive some of the things because it was hurtful the way I feel I was treated. And I must add that there's very good officers there, and there's officers that's bad. And so, by no means am I perfect, and I'm not the only one that has a story. I'm sure everybody has a story. Just because I wrote one, don't mean that I'm isolated and nobody else went through anything because they probably did, But I just didn't want them to have the last word. That's what kept me motivated, and I got the strength within, and I got the writing, and I started reading from me all my little notes and everything, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I need to do this, you know.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
What would you say is the most interesting thing you learned about yourself while writing the book?
That I could do anything, that anything is possible.
Okay.
That's good.
Yes, I think that anything is possible and anybody can do anything they want to do, really. You might think you can do something, but if you put your mind to it, you can do it.
Now, the people in the book, are they were they inspired by the characters, or are these real people in real situations?
These are real people. I wrote about real people,
In real life situations.
real life situations.
Okay.
These are real people. I
Mm,
might not say their names, but these are real people that
Hmm.
actually did this. This is
mm,
not a made up story at all.
mm. So, what do you think happened? What happened to the characters after the book ended?
I don't know what happened to the characters. I know the people that one thing that I know that I could have talked about was some of the goodness because there's a lot of good people there, but some of them still work there.
Oh,
Some of
did
them
they?
some of them are captains and sergeants, believe it or not. They're
Really?
captains and yes, they're captains and sergeants because our warden is African American and
Mhm.
everybody underneath him doesn't look like me, you know? And
Yeah.
so that's how a lot of the things they got away with a lot of things because you have to go through chain of command and chain of command they didn't look like me, most of them.
Hmm. Hmm.
At least my last couple of years they didn't look like me. Now there were some and they end up leaving, but a
Hmm.
lot of them didn't look like me. The captains and um the deputy wardens, they didn't look like me. And they're all friends. And keep that in mind when you talk about when you have a problem with a police officer. They're all friends. They call that the blue family. Everything is, I mean, but African Americans may not be, but they keep everything tight knit. You like they don't you could report something, they'll go back and tell the other officer, oh, she reported you, or this happened, or that inmate reported you. They're all clicked in together.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going off the script for a minute because of what the last question that and your answer.
Hmm.
Okay, you wrote the book. You have revealed things in your book that occurred. So, what do you hope becomes of this information? Do you want it to be someone to acknowledge it? Do you want somebody to do something to make corrections? What are you hoping will happen with the information you reveal?
Well, actually, I just wanted the public to be aware of what goes on behind those walls because it's a world inside of a world. When you walk in that door and you go through all those doors that clank, clank, or whatever, that's a whole different world in there. So the public really don't know what really happens in there. The only person that knows what happens in there is the officers and the staff. You guys really don't know what happens in there unless you have a family member in there and they tell you. But
Hmm.
um, what I want them to get out of it, I want them to. I would actually challenge them to read my book because everything I said in my book is the truth, and they don't have to apologize to me because they have to answer to the Almighty. Just like anything I do, I have to answer to the Almighty. But they know if they read that book, they'll know whether it's them or not because they'll know what they did. You don't forget what you do to
Yeah.
people.
Now,
So
have you gotten any negative feedback or anything as a result of the book from the people that
actually, I
work?
did, Miss Alice. I didn't get any negative feedback. If there was negative feedback, I didn't hear it because the feedback that I received was they were saying it was inspirational
Hmm.
Hmm.
that I would still be able to work that job. and go
Oh,
to, and and come in here every day. And
mhm.
so the feedback I got was inspirational.
Okay. So do you hear from any of the people, the characters in the book?
No, and I don't want to.
Mm.
I don't want to hear from those people
Okay.
unless we thank goodness I never ran into any of them. But what would I do if I ever ran into them? I mean, I wouldn't say anything or anything like that, because me writing a book released me. It
Yeah.
released me from everything. So um no, I never heard of them. I heard of the ones that cared about me. I talk to them often,
Okay.
and that's all I care about. I
Mhm.
forgive everybody. I don't.
Mhm.
In your book, you reveal several negative encounters with other correctional officers. Can you think of one situation or incident that stands out for you more than any other? Something that made you realize, I've got to write this book.
When a friend that I was, and this is in my book, you want me to refer for in my, well, this stands out to me, and this really hurt. I had a friend that I was really close to. Like I would talk to her about different things, and um, share some things with her. And they used to call me on my job antisocial. And I thought to myself, what's wrong with being antisocial? What's wrong with staying to yourself? That's the type of job it's good to stay to yourself. So um, she turned on me. She turned on me. But I seen that it was coming because um, women are catty, and I noticed some things, and so I kind of stayed away from her. And she didn't like it, and she turned on me. Sometimes when you do different, when you kind of try to get away from a situation, a lot of times people don't like that, and so that hurt the most, and that's what stands out. But I
Mm.
wish her the best.
Okay.
Now the background there, is that the cover of your book, Polished Lessons? That's in the
Yes.
background. That's the cover.
Yeah. No, 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 no. That's another photograph that was taken, but that's not the cover. That's
Okay.
just a backdrop that I end up using for today. But that's a
Okay.
different backdrop.
So who designed the cover of your book?
His name is John 2B Photography.
Okay.
He also did my video, and the cover, the front cover and the back cover of my book.
Okay. Okay. Hmm.
Mm. Are you on social media and can your readers interact with you?
No. No, because I only have one book, so um, I'll wait until the next book, or I get a collection maybe that
Hmm.
you know. So no, I don't.
So, what advice would you give a new writer, someone that's just starting out, or someone that wants to write a book and don't know how to get started?
I would say this to them. And Toni Morrison, I like short stories. I don't read big novels, but I
Hmm.
like Toni Morrison. And she wrote a short story called Sweetness. And it's a really beautiful story. And she quotes a lot of quotations about life and what have you. And one of her quotes was, if you have ever wanted to read a book and nobody written it yet, then you write it.
Hmm.
That's her quote.
Okay.
If there's a book that you wanted ever always wanted to read and nobody written it, then you write it. Take your time, because writing is therapeutic.
Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
What suggestions would you give to someone who wants to share their story?
take your time. Take your time and write. You know, sometimes some things might be too emotional. You got to come back to it.
Mm.
Stick with it if that's what you really want to do, because you can do anything you want to do. So that would be my suggestion. You know, just take your time and write it. If you get emotional about some things, come back to it.
How long did it take you to write your book?
Oh my goodness, a couple years, and it's not a huge book, but it's not a huge book, but what's the content is very inspirational. You will get some, just like I got something from Toni Morrison's short story, you will get something out my book. And that's the important thing, you know, getting the message and you know, just getting the message and feeling what I felt, you know, just the reader, as long as they feel what you felt, then you did a good job.
So, is there one incident that really pushed you to write your book or made you want to write the book? Did you just wake up one day and say, I'm going to write a book?
When I had a family member that was incarcerated
Okay.
and he was falsely accused, and I made a lot of enemies that didn't look like me
Mm-hmm.
from this. But um, remember when I was saying that a lot of the captains didn't look like me, so they could get away with things, and they were all friends. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you go up into the hole, which is when you violated some rules that might be in the facility, you go into this on this pod, and on the pod in the cell, you have to you have a certain amount of days to have a hearing. They just can't leave you in there. They'll put you in there on charges. And the charges could be something like smoking in your cell. You still have a right to have a hearing. And so, what stands out to me, what really made me write, is when on the board, there's a board up on that pod where the officers sit at, and the captain would come up and the captain would give the hearings, but their name was on the board and they have a folder. If their name's not on the board, the captain won't know they're even in there, and they would hide the folder. So that means the inmate could be up there for a year. And I'm just giving you an example. He could be up there for a year
Really?
because the captain would never know he's up there. And
But
so
isn't there some kind of accountability where they have to be, you have to check and make sure the inmates are there every day?
well, whoever sent them up there, just say it was their pod officer, and the pod officer would send them up there, but they wouldn't know what happens upstairs. They wouldn't know whether they had the hearing or not, or got moved to another part prior.
Okay.
So they would just be up in that cell without a hearing, and they would erase the inmate's name. Well, this particular inmate, erase his name, hide the folder, and the captain would never know. And then when I went to the captain, that's when she found out that he was up there all that time without a hearing, and she said, "Let him out,"
Mm.
because you can't have somebody if they don't have a hearing, then you have to automatically let them out. Now, you might have been up there for 2 months for something minor. That's what made me write, because it's not right. Now, the captain that, if they're all affiliated together and the captain is that captain that takes care of that unit,
Hmm.
they're all friends. They're all friends.
Does that happen often?
Does that happen? Yes. Well, I can only speak for my um I can only speak for what I went through, but I'm sure I'm not the only story. I'm sure I'm
Mm.
not the only story.
Christine, I don't know if you noticed, but a message just came through for you from your big brother, from your brother, and he said he's proud of his big sister.
Rob, oh,
And
isn't that sweet? Because he
that's
know
sweet.
his sister gonna tell it all.
Now, one of the chapters in your book is called "Life Changes and Life Lessons." Can you elaborate on that for us? What lessons from the life
Oh
changes and life
yeah,
lessons?
I was in a fender bender. I was going through it. I was in a fender bender, and I don't know if you ever experienced this when you're on the road and you put your turning signals on,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody doesn't want you to move up, so they
Mm-hmm.
move their car up. And so that's what happened to me. And I happened to be coming home from work, so I had my uniform on.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was he hit my car. He hit the back of my car.
Mm-hmm.
So I got out to see if he was okay, and he didn't look like me. I got out the car. I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Why did you hit my car? Give me your driver's license." I was on the news. I was on the news about this. This was heartbreaking. And what happened was, I said, "I'm not giving you my driver's license. We could call the police." Why should I give you my driver's license and you hit my car? But he seen that I had my uniform on. He zoomed in and said, "You work for the Allegheny County Jail." And then he started taping me. But he only see, people don't realize when people start taping, something happened before you started taping.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I got in trouble. I got in trouble because of that, because I felt like it was a racist. I believe that I was being targeted and he was a racist
Mm-hmm.
because I'm only 5'2". He was much taller than me. Why would you want to do that to a woman? He just um he just was instigating something that it didn't even have to be. So he went to the news to try to get me in trouble. And when he did that, one of the officers downstairs told the captain, and the captain, um, it just went all over the jail, and that was the
Mm-hmm.
most embarrassing part. And they don't even know. They tried to say I didn't have insurance. They tried to say I had car insurance. First of all, he hit me. If you hit somebody in the back, whose fault is it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it just got blown out of proportion. And I think that happened after the situation with when the family member was in the hole at one point. And
Okay.
then I went and I took care of that. And
Mm-hmm.
people don't like when you stick up for yourself,
Yeah.
especially me.
We have a caller on the line who
We
would
have
like to ask you
two.
a question.
Cassandra.
Oh, we have two. Okay, Cassandra is our first caller. Hi, Cassandra. How are you this evening? Do you have a question for us?
I just wanted to tell my cousin Christine that I'm proud of her. Her big cousin Clayton.
Oh, thank you so much, Clayton. Thank
That was
you so
Clayton.
much. I
Okay,
appreciate
Clayton.
it.
I'm your big cousin.
You're my little cousin. Thank you very much.
Cassandra, we're going to ask you to hold up a minute until Clayton finishes his call.
Cassandra, are you there? Cassandra, are you?
Okay. Now let's see if we can get Cassandra on the line. Hello. Well, I think we. Oh, here she is now. Hello, Cassandra.
Is that her?
Hello. Okay. Well, she may come back again. So let's move on and hopefully she'll come back with her question. Cassandra, if you're listening, please call us back again so we can get you on the line.
And while we're waiting for that, Christine, which part of the book was most important to you? What was the most important thing you wanted to get out to your readers?
That if it wasn't for God, I would have never got through it. That's the most important thing, is
Mm-hmm.
to have faith. And I want to tell you this story because I have a lot of stories, and I'm
I'm
sure.
sure you do.
Okay.
But with that incident with the vehicle, I had went to church. I had went to Emmanuel Church one Sunday, because I'm from Bethel Baptist, which I honored both of them in my book, in the back of my book. Um, I went to church, and you know how you get up in front of the church and you pray, and we're praying for the world and everything. And it was a visitor pastor there, and he said, "I want you, 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 you." He pointed to like 5 people, and I was one. And so when he pointed at me, I was like, and I'm going to be real with you. I was like, I'm not going to tell my business, because my business is between me and God. And I want to talk to the pastor, I don't want to talk to a lot of people in the church. Lo and behold, everyone was telling their business. Now, I'm not saying telling their business, and it's okay, but they were saying, and this happened and that happened, and God bless them, and all these things was happening to them. I had my eyes closed, and the pastor said, Pastor Sawyer, she said to me, "Are you ready to be used?" So the first thing, nobody ever said that to me. I mean, I've heard it in some preaching and in church, but what did she really mean by that I want to be used?
Okay.
And I thought something would happen to my family. And so I had my eyes closed, and then when she got done praying and putting the oil on me, I my face was filled with water. I don't even know how the water held up with my eyes was closed. I opened my eyes, and my eyes was filled in water. That was 2 weeks before that incident happened with that vehicle.
Okay.
And let me just tell you the ending. The ending was, I didn't get suspended. I didn't get reprimanded. I only got counseling. So God knew what was going to happen beforehand, because nothing happened to me, because they were saying, "Oh, she's going to get suspended. She was on the news and she was going to get suspended," and nothing. They didn't touch me because I was covered by the blood.
Well, that's good. Now, we do have Cassandra's back on the line. So hold that thought. Cassandra,
And please turn your volume up.
if you could turn your audio on your TV or computer down, Cassandra, we would hear you better.
Yeah, it is down.
Okay. And you have a question or comment for Christine?
Yes, I wanted to make a comment. Christine is a very good friend of mine. I grew up with her. She's a childhood friend, and we're still friends. She's a very loyal friend. And anyone who she's friends with is lucky to have her as a friend. Because one thing about her, she will go to battle for anyone that she knows that's not being treated right. And if something's done wrong, believe me, she's going to fight to the end. So her story, it represents her very well.
Okay.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate that.
And you know what? That probably falls right into our next question. Would you elaborate on your experience with the Mon Valley Citizens Review Board and tell us what it is and what is the purpose of the review board?
Yeah, so the purpose was having transparency from the police, and having subpoena power. Because most of the time police get slapped on the wrist for some of the things that they do. And so if a civilian would come to us, we could have them in court, and we could subpoena them to come to court on allegations that they mistreated somebody. Whether they're getting pulled over by the same cop for a lot of times, or rather just harassment. Just have them accountable for the things that they do. They're supposed to be upholding the law, and they're supposed to be protecting us. And there are more criminals, some of them, or more. There's a lot of good cops, but a lot of the things they do in from decades, from 400 years, they've been getting away with a lot. And so it was a pleasure to serve on that committee.
Okay. We have another caller for you. We have Miss Deneen Hood, and she's on the line. Hi, Deneen. How are you today?
Hi, I'm okay. You was
Good. Okay, you're on the air. Can you please ask your question?
Oh, sure. My question for Christine. I know she's grew up in Braddock, and as a excuse me, a fellow Braddonian, I know we were raised in a village environment. How important does she think that helped her as she became an adult, and especially with some of the situations she writes in her book?
Well, I was in the church a lot as a kid, so that helped me a lot. Um, and I think there's a lot of good in Braddock, and I think that a lot of professional people came from Braddock, and there's a lot of strength there in Braddock. Um, and I think that they have great possibilities, and I just happen to be one of them. There's great possibilities in Braddock, and so I'm glad to be a part of Braddock. I'm glad that anything that comes up that Dom, the president, asked me to do, or on his committee for anything, I'm always willing to do it. I'm always willing to do it. So I think a lot of good is in Braddock, and just don't let the no stores fool you, because there's a lot of possibility in Braddock, and
Mm-hmm.
so it played a big part also in my upbringing, and um, it just played a big part.
Okay,
Okay.
thank
Church.
you. And then also, I want to thank you for organizing the event in which you honored a mentor of ours, Esther Manns, and the Pittsburgh Post Gazette writer. Could you tell a little bit about, why she won the award?
Yes, the story was about, and I think of this a lot of times. We were some little black girls, really little girls of color, that when we marched down the street, our little skirts was swinging. We was we was something else. We had a lot of swagger. And so it was just a pleasure to see. We didn't get a chance to see all the people, but it was a pleasure to be a part of that. And I have some surprises, Denise, that I'm working on, because I'm trying to get our little majorette group in stone, so they'll know that from this town came some little girls that was doing their thing on Braddock Avenue past Mellon Bank. Remember Mellon Bank?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and Esther Mans, she was young. She was young when she formed that group, and also it was a pleasure, and that played a part in it because she gave us discipline. She gave us discipline. We had to learn those steps. I was only 4 years old, and I knew those steps. I was little, and I knew them steps. And so she gave us discipline, and she gave us that. We weren't on the street being, little.
Yeah.
You know how little girls are. We weren't doing that. We were marching on Saturdays or at events, and it made me. And that might be a part of another reason why I wrote this book, because she gave us a lot of discipline
Mm-hmm.
besides my
Mhm.
parents.
Okay. Now,
Okay.
And
Denise,
so
Denise,
Question?
I'm sorry, the writer, she was talking about she wanted to ask about the writer. Uh,
Okay.
the writer was so happy because the writer won an award for our stories. And the stories that was in there was a variety of stories, but Cassandra Franklin, who called in, and also my story, she won an award for writing the book. I mean, for writing a story in the Post Gazette of our group,
Mm-hmm.
Braddock and Braddock, in 1962. No, when was I born? Okay, never mind. Okay, so 19 so It was in 1960s. I'll say 1960s. Okay, 1964. I was about 4 years old, 4 or 5 years old. So that was amazing. And she won that award, you know. And the only thing I'm trying to do is put Braddock back on the map. If I could do that.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay.
Thank
Do
you,
you have any?
Denise.
Do you have any more questions, Denise?
Do you have any more questions?
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Denise.
And how many females? This is getting back to your job. How many females work at the county jail?
Hmm.
Um, hmm.
Is
I
it-
say, and I could be wrong, maybe 20, 25,
Oh,
if
okay.
that much.
Okay.
But there was more. Um, yeah, there was more.
Okay.
No,
So what made you chose that career?
Right.
I really didn't. I'm telling you, I was going through a career change, and I don't know if we all go through this, but I was going through a career change, and I did my resume up because I worked at Mercy Hospital for 10 years. So that's why this job was so. It was different, and I just thought that I would be able to exhale when I first came to this job, because when I seen the white shirts, the stripes, I was like, yeah, I think I can do this. And I was going through a career change, getting back to that, and I did my resume over. I went downtown to the city county building, or the county office building, and I seen correctional officer, and I just went from there.
Oh, okay.
Just
Okay.
went from there. It was just a career change. Me just being me, just trying to figure out who I was. And even though, and just let me just add, even though I went through all the things I went through, I thank God for it, because I know it took me to another place. Like um, it took me to another place in life after I was done with it, to
Okay.
see how I did not want to be. You know, I'm not perfect. I still do things wrong, but for the most part, I'm glad that I went through it. There's plenty nights I cried. I cried for working at that job. It was rough.
Well, I have a question, and it's not on the script also. What are the requirements to become a correctional officer? And because of all of the things you have to witness and experience, what support system is in place for the officers to help you?
Each other. If you could find a friend, because you can't go and talk to the captain about it. They got other things to do. They don't have a support system. And one thing I think they do need is diversity training, because some white people, excuse me, but they don't know how to interact with African Americans, because they don't know how to interact with them in a way um, where it's not in a negative way, because we're seen in a negative way. But there's no diversity. There's nobody you could talk to. There's nothing. Oh, they have the EAP, which is free. We could go if we having some mental health issues or a mental breakdown. They do provide that for us. But other than that, on the site, no, we don't have anybody.
Hmm. Interesting.
Who,
Okay, go ahead, Alice. Go
no,
ahead.
this is getting back to your book, and I meant to ask you this earlier. Who designed the cover of your book?
John to John B. John to B photography.
Oh, he designed the cover
book.
also.
Okay.
Yes, he did
Oh,
in the back cover.
oh, okay. Okay.
And my video that I would like you
Okay.
ladies to see one day.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we have to congratulate you on attending Duquesne University Law Department. Will your classes at Duquesne help you to get tied into the Innocence Project? And can you explain
Yes,
what the Innocence Project is?
yes, I did talk to my professor about it, but I have to get a lot of education under my belt, because law is constantly changing. not long as not as much as it's always changing, but one law might pertain to another law. It's very hard and it's very complex. And I hopefully he said that when I spoke to him about it, he said that it's a possibility. But I want to be able to. He said he would talk to somebody, but I want to have enough underneath my belt before I go and do that because I want to be the best in challenging the Supreme Court on getting some of these people released that was wrongly convicted.
So you're pursuing a law degree now?
You know what? I don't know how far I'm gonna go, and I don't know how much I need to be on the Innocence Project, but I'm gonna go as far as I can and see where it would take me. And I'm trying to get good grades, and so far I did, but I have to keep it up for them to even consider me. I have to keep it up. So it's just starting from the bottom.
So what exactly does the Innocence Project do? What do they do?
Well, they help the wrongly convicted be free.
Okay.
And
how did someone get involved with it?
Well, I guess you have to have some kind of law education underneath your belt. I really don't know the dynamics, but I do know I've heard, and don't quote me on this, that Duquesne University is tied to it. I'm not sure, but I know there's one in Philadelphia. But if I could get involved with the one in Pittsburgh, it would be perfect.
And what about the candidates, the people that are become members of the not of the Innocence Project, but are selected by the Innocence Project? How are they selected?
Good question. I haven't dug that far yet because I'm just starting. Good question. But I would think that I would have to have a lot more education underneath my belt to even be considered.
Is there a large number of people that have been wrongly convicted?
I think I seen some documentation that at least 200. I don't know from what area to what area. Maybe from Pittsburgh, at least 200.
And what's the ethnicity of the majority?
I don't know that.
No. Okay.
No, I don't know. I don't know that question.
Okay. Now during the last election, there was an organization that was coming. I think they were coming to the prison or to the jail to register people to vote.
We had a guy that worked in the school part of the jail. He used to get them registered. Okay. They would be registered to vote. So they do get registered to vote. I don't think the ones with felonies can vote, though.
So how do they vote from jail? Is it
right?
They would come in with the ballots.
Oh, okay.
They would come in with the ballots and they would vote like that. If don't quote me on it, but I know that they would come inside the jail.
Oh, okay.
So it's probably the mail-in ballots where they would mail their votes in.
Yeah, that's what I believe, because I used to see them come in and they would have to register.
Now, you worked with the male prisoners and the female prisoners, or just solely the males?
Male and female.
Male and female. Oh, okay.
Male and female.
And how long?
Guess who was the worst?
Who?
The female.
Don't say the female. Oh, don't say that about us.
Still females will take you through some things.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. We're very catty. We're very catty and messy. Yeah, there were some.
We have about 10 minutes left, And so we don't want to cut you off because now it's getting interesting, but what I wanted to tell you is everything that you talked about has really opened up our eyes. But
It is.
what's your future? What are you planning to do? How are you going to be a benefactor and a supporter of the community?
Well, well, being on the Innocent Project is one. Um, I went before the Braddock Council on this idea. A school for the Academy of the Arts. I put a proposal on the table
Mhm.
made up of what all I wanted for the kids in Braddock. I haven't picked I don't know where I stand at. I know that right now, there's some things that they have to get out the way, but I would like a school. I
Okay.
would like a school for them to go, to keep them off the streets,
Mm.
like a writers, a literary program. I don't have the pamphlet in front of me that I gave to the council because they all
Right.
took him. And I would like it's writers, it's music. I
Mhm.
wanted to have a recording studio where they
Yeah,
could do
that's right,
community.
Christine. We have another caller on the line for you, and
Yeah.
her name is Karen. So, Karen, you're going to be our last caller most likely for tonight. But welcome, and what is your question?
Karen, are you there?
Yes, I am.
If your turn
Go,
your TV down.
go ahead. Turn your
Thank
TV
you.
down.
No,
You
I
have to
just wanted
turn your
to let my
TV down.
cousin know how very proud I am of her. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
now we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can. Please go on.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
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 Okay, I just wanted to say that Christine has always been a force to be reckoned with. And she's my cousin. And it's funny because my mother always knew that. She used to walk on her tippy toes. To say Christine is going to dance through life. She's doing it. She's doing it.
That's
And
funny.
I'm so proud of you, Christine.
Thank
And I
you.
also wanted to say, going back to those days when you said Braddock had swagger, the marching group, I had the most swagger. I was the head majorette.
Oh yeah, she was.
She
She was the
was.
she
I
was
was
the
the head
head, and I was
majorette.
in
So
back of
I
her.
remember those days too. And she's, Christine, you are very inspirational. The family is so proud of you. We are so
Oh,
proud of you. And you keep doing what you're doing.
thank you. I will. Thank you,
Yes.
cousin.
Well, thank you for
Oh,
calling in.
right. And you have a very supportive family, and it was really great to hear from all of them. Now,
Yeah,
before we thank our
yeah.
guests for appearing on our program, we'd like to say that the Good Health Women's Immunization Network, better known as Good Health Wins, is our commitment to building an army of good health champions who understand the importance of immunization across the lifespan. Through our network of trusted messengers and grassroots activities, our goal is to increase vaccination rates, help remove barriers, and increase access to vaccines and good health. Alice?
Yes. We also want to thank all of you, our listening audience, for tuning in. We invite you to join the National Council of Negro Women or go to our website. We need your help to educate, advocate, and positively impact families and communities in the Rankin, Mon Valley, and Pittsburgh area.
And you can call our membership chair, and her number is 412-867-9641 to become a member of the National Council of Negro Women.
Mhm, mhm.
Now, remember our next live program. We're gonna before we close out, we're gonna ask Christine if she had anything else to say. But our next live program will be the first Friday of every month at 6 o'clock p.m. Christine, what do you want to leave us with?
I want to leave you with. I hope this book inspires you. I hope that you got something from my book, and I hope that you will always believe in yourself. That's most important. Believe in yourself, because you can do anything you want to do.
Thank you so very much. And the
Do
best of
you
luck
have,
to you.
I just want to ask Christine, do you have a favorite author or your most favorite book?
Yeah, well, I like Toni Morrison
Okay.
because I like short stories, and her
Okay.
short stories is dynamic. Like,
Okay.
it's not a lot that you would have to read, but check her out. I don't know if you guys ever read her stuff or read
Mhm.
her stuff. She's no longer on this earth, bless her,
Mhm.
but she left something. And that's
Okay.
what I want to do. I want to leave something, you know. I want people to know I was here, you
So
know.
that means that we can look forward to more of your books.
Yes, at least
Mhm.
one more, Miss Alice.
Okay.
At least one more.
Okay.
And
Okay.
you have inspired future writers. And I'm going to sit back down at that computer and see how much more I can accomplish. So thank you so very
Yes,
much.
you'll be good. You'll be great.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in this evening.
Thank
Mhm.
you
Good
for
night.
having me.